Hey, so I wanted to continue to go a little bit deeper into what's going on right now astrologically and inside of us. Because ultimately, what Jyotisha really shows us is what's going on inside of us on a very deep level. And then Jyotisha is definitely way more spiritually focused. In keeping us in alignment with what we talked about yesterday, dharma, and keeping us on that path of dharma, what is keeping us in alignment with our own spiritual nature. And so one thing that we also have, yesterday I talked about how we have all of the storms, Rudra is shining the light on everything, exposing the light on everything. Where's the truth? What's true right now? And this light of truth is exposing, everything that needs to be exposed. And then that which is not in balance, that which is not in harmony, is being dredged up. And it's a very stormy sort of situation right now. And another thing that we have going on up in Gemini, so refer to the video from yesterday. And then another thing we have going on up in Gemini is that we have Rahu. So today I'm going to talk about Rahu and Ketu. So Rahu and Ketu are the north and south nodes of the moon. Rahu's the north node of the moon and Ketu is the south node of the moon. And the story is in Vedic, in the Vedas, that Rahu and Ketu is one serpent that was used to churn the Milky Ocean. And at the bottom of the Milky Ocean is contained the Amrit, the Soma, the elixir of immortality. And through a little bit of a trick, Rahu Ketu ended up consuming some of this elixir. And once Vishnu saw that this had happened, to try to prevent it from drinking any more of the Amrit, chopped its head off. And the head became Rahu and went to the north node of the moon, and the body became Ketu and went to the south node of the moon. And so Rahu Ketu is a little bit like that. When it's in Ketu, cuts us off from things. It's the headless serpent. All of a sudden, there's no logic that is applied in this particular area where Ketu shows up in a chart. It's the headless serpent. It just shows up out of nowhere. It usually cuts us off from something. We end up usually putting a lot of energy into that specific area, but ultimately, the thing about Ketu is that Ketu is actually really a very spiritual planet. It's called a graha in Jyotisha, which means it grabs us. And so because it grabs us and it has an influence, it's considered to be a planet. And so Ketu is a very spiritual planet. It's a planet of isolation. It cuts us off from some aspect of the material world to bring us back to our spiritual core. And then Rahu is the complete opposite. Rahu is that it's constantly going after, drooling at the mouth, going out. It wants the Amrit, right? It wants the immortality. It's full of desire. It wants something. And so it's very much like the trickster, very much like that Roadrunner and Coyote cartoon, where the trickster is constantly sending the roadrunner on a chase, and we're the roadrunner going on the chase. But what we find out is it's all a trick. It's all an illusion. And so the thing about Rahu is that it leads us on this lust and this quest for something that we think is going to bring us fulfillment and happiness, and it doesn't. And that's very much the material world. We think it's going to bring us happiness and fulfillment and the answers that we seek. And we lustfully sort of run after the material world and material things. And we have this passionate drive to go after these things, only to find out that it wasn't really what we thought it was going to be. And that's what Rahu is. It's illusion. It makes us, the areas that we run after, wherever it shows up, it's all illusion. It's smoke and mirrors. It's not real. And that's what Ketu shows us. Ketu cuts it off and says, see, it wasn't real. You're not going to find happiness. You're not going to find joy. You're not going to find love, everlasting, unconditional, in those material things. You're going to find it by going within to your spiritual self, to your spiritual core. And so it's going to cut us off from anything that gets in our path. So Rahu can oftentimes lead us to dharma, to lawlessness, and Ketu kind of cuts us off from that and brings us back towards dharma if we surrender to it. Because Ketu doesn't always cut us off in a pleasant way. It's cutting us off from illusion. It's shattering our illusions. And shattering of illusions is not always a very pleasant thing. But if we can let go, if we can surrender into it, then it becomes so much easier. And we start to understand what the planet Ketu is delivering to us. Whereas Rahu is like tying a rabbit on a string in front of a bunch of greyhounds. And then they run after it. And then they win, the one wins the race because he's the one that's like running after that, that rabbit so hard. And then they get put back in their kennels and nobody ever questions, why didn't I get the rabbit? Where's the rabbit? So that's Rahu. And Rahu is showing up right now in Gemini. It's showing up in Gemini, and it's showing up in a star constellation, a nakshatra in Gemini called Mrigashira. And Mrigashira is the deer. And the thing about the deer is, a deer is this very, fragile, gentle, a little bit skittish creature that is extremely picky. It only eats the tender shoots of something. So it's very picky, but it's always running. It's always running. It doesn't stay anywhere for very long. It's constantly running and it's constantly searching. And when you put Rahu here, you create the roadrunner. You create the dog chasing after the rabbit. And so the deer is now, that's always searching, and always looking for things, is now looking and searching for information, obsessively running after information because it's in Gemini. And Gemini is communication. Gemini is the internet. And right now we're seeing this, but it's all smoke and mirrors because it's Rahu. Like none of it's going to be real. What we're running after isn't going to be real. And Rahu is showing this sort of illusion, smoke and mirrors, oh, don't look at the man behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz sort of, situation to us, where, everything seems upside down. And in that upside downness, suddenly everybody is an expert, right? Suddenly everybody's a scientist. Suddenly everybody's an expert. And the things that we go to search for information can delude us, can be the dog and pony show and the smoke and the mirrors. And so oftentimes with this placement, what we are running after isn't actually what we find isn't actually the truth. And we've seen a lot of that. There's been a lot of conspiracy theories. There's been a lot of sudden, people claiming to be experts, on YouTube that aren't experts at all, and we all, are claiming to be experts, and none of us probably know what we're talking about. In fact, what we think we know, the ideas and the opinions and the judgments that we are forming are most likely false on every side because Rahu is here, and Rahu makes us think that we know what's going on when in reality we really don't know what's going on. So we're all the deer searching for information and thinking we're finding it, and then we find out that what we thought we knew is actually not really accurate at all. And it also creates this situation where we don't know what to believe. We don't know what to think, What we think is happening is not happening. And then it creates a ripe ground for gaslighting, for something to say, oh, this is what you think it is, but this is what's really happening. but we're going to say that this is what's really happening. Like, for example, oh, we're flattening the curve in the United States when we're not. Cases are rising. Other countries have flattened the curve. You know, every other country has gone up and then down, and we went up and then down and then up. And yet our country is saying, oh, look at us. We've been so successful over coronavirus. We have flattened the curve. We're doing a great job. The virus is going away. And it's not going away. It's getting worse, you know? But this is, you know, and if you listen to that information and you form these belief systems over that information, then you're going to be deluded and you're going to have wrong ideas and you're going to lead to more and more adharma. And then Shiva, as Rudra, has to come in and stir it up and destroy those ideas. So we've lost our discrimination. We've lost our discrimination. We've lost our ability here in Gemini, where Shiva was the cool, calm, collected, discriminative intellect as Mercury sitting here. Now we've lost our ability to discriminate. And so all of a sudden, Shiva has to come in as Rudra and create storms to try to shake everything up and bring back some sense of discrimination. And so everything feels, you know, upside down. We're being told everything is fine, but nothing is fine. So it's just this crazy energy. You know, even in my own county, St. John's County, the county was like, I mean, our cases of coronavirus and our percent positive of coronavirus is going up daily. And our county was like, oh, there's no problem here. We don't have a problem. I don't think we need to mandate masks or anything like that. There's nothing to see here. No problem here. Hospitals aren't getting overrun. Meanwhile, Flagler Hospital, our local hospital, is saying, you know, we're getting more and more coronavirus patients. So it's just, this is the confusion that is going on right now. And if we allow ourselves to dive into that, to be sucked into the confusion, then we can easily become upset. We can easily lose ourselves. We can easily become deluded by all of the confusion that is going on right now. So, you know, if we are not acting by being connected to our higher self, to our higher wisdom, then we're easily going to be dragged into all sorts of delusions and things in the external world that are going to make us feel sad and depressed and upset and create anger and all the sorts of things that we're currently seeing. So the opposite side of this is that we have right now Ketu, which is sitting down in a star constellation, a nakshatra called Mula. And Ketu, the thing about Rudra is that we often have to go through storms. We often have to go through periods of struggle and strife in order to develop true spiritual authenticity. In order to grow spiritually, we often have to go through periods of darkness. We often have to go through periods of transformation. But then those strong storms, they strengthen us and they make us turn to something deeper within ourselves, something more spiritual within ourselves. And we learn to overcome our own struggles and our own battles. And right now, the moon is today in Jeshta, which is all about that. Jeshta is sitting in Scorpio. And right now, we're having to die to some of those problems, those ideas that we have formed, and learn to die to that part of us that has been so, you know, running in on this roadrunner and coyote, you know, deluded chase. And we have to see how, you know, the storms that are happening in our country, that are happening in our counties, in our states, and in our own mind and in our own heart and in our own ego, how those storms are making us stronger. It's making us stronger, and that is Jeshta. Jeshta is the strong, diamond that is created, the strengthening, the power. And Jeshta is also the eldest queen. Of all of the nakshatras, the star constellations are seen as goddesses, and she's the eldest queen. And we develop a strength and a resilience from that, and a determination to handle our own emotional depth and the stuff that is coming up for us emotionally. And then we move into Mula. Jeshta is right there at the very end of Scorpio, moving into Sagittarius, and then we move into Mula, where Mula is the roots. It's roots that are dug deep down into the earth, and its ruling deity is Kali, an aspect of Kali that comes in and digs up those roots and uproots it. And we have Ketu here, again, the headless serpent, who's cutting us off from something materially by uprooting our beliefs. What do we believe? What belief systems do we have that need to go? What do we believe about various things? What do we believe about life and death? What do we believe about this virus? What do we believe about racism? What do we believe about sexism? What do we believe about gender? What do we believe about, sexual preferences? What do we believe about a whole host of different things? All of these things that these polarities that we explored with Ardra, we are now looking at uprooting those beliefs and really digging down and seeing, what are my values? What are my philosophies? What do I really believe? What do I want to believe? And we're being made to really look at that. And, Ketu here is kind of saying your emotional frustration is entirely up to you. Like, it's because of you. It's because you're creating all the drama in your own self. You're the one that's doing it. And so Ketu says, you need to uproot those belief systems that you have. And we have Kali, the goddess, coming in here, uprooting all of those things, creating a little bit of chaos. And Ketu, being a very spiritual planet, specifically sitting in Sagittarius, that is ruled by Jupiter, which is Guru, is saying, you know what, take those belief system and those perspectives and turn your beliefs back to the Guru. Now's the time to go within. Now's the time to listen to the Guru. And we're approaching Guru Purnima, which is the most auspicious day of the year. And this happens to be where we're having the eclipse. Guru Purnima is where the moon is the brightest and the most full in the sky, and is always in Ashada, the month of Ashada, which is Sagittarius, ruled by Sagittarius, which is Guru, which is higher learning, higher teachings, higher philosophies, spirituality. And why don't we get out of all of our perceptions that we think are so right, our ideas that we think are so right, and start to listen to the inner Guru, turn within to the inner Guru, and tap back into the real true reality, what is really, really true and what is really real. Because that's all of our belief systems, all of our ideas, and our lack of discrimination right now is what is frustrating us. And we don't understand the larger picture. We are so down in it. We are, like I said yesterday, we're just playing our part. And we don't know what the greater plan is and how this is all going to shake out. But Dharma is the very core of the universe, and it's finding balance again. Rudra is helping us find balance again. And so that's really kind of, what Ketu is pointing us towards. uprooting those belief systems, making us look at our beliefs, and then we need to surrender into our own spirituality. So by uprooting the untruth within us, we can then plant seeds of new seeds. And that is what we're given an opportunity to do with this eclipse. We have Jupiter, which is coming into its own, sign as guru, to be the guru, to guide us towards what is right and what is true, and help us plant new seeds. And so this eclipse time is a perfect opportunity to make some spiritual advancements in our own practices. And another thing that we have helping us is we have Mars right now in Uttara Bhadrapada, which is a star constellation, nakshatra, that is connected to Pisces, which makes us Mars brings drive and the warrior into the realm of spirituality. So we have the energy of the spiritual warrior who is here helping us. And the deity of Uttara Bhadrapada is Ahirbudhanya, which is the serpent of the deep. And it's that deep spiritual water and the Kundalini energy swirling in this deep spiritual water. It's a perfect opportunity for us to be the spiritual warrior, to go within, to tap into that energy and start to channel that energy. Uttara Bhadrapada is also the sign, the nakshatra of the sadhu, the wandering sadhu, the wandering monk or the wandering yogi. And this is a very spiritual placement. And we need to dig down drill down, have that serpent drill down into our own belief systems and go deep inside into finding again our truth, our alignment with ourselves, so that we're not so pulled away and carried away by what's going on in the external world around us. And we have the energy of Mars, which is our drive, which meets Saturn. Saturn is the planet that rules this particular nakshatra, Uttara Bhadrapada. So you have Saturn meeting up with Mars, which gives us that strength and ability to do that. So going back to the moon right now is in Jyeshta, and it will be moving into Purva Ashadha, which is the sign in Sagittarius, the nakshatra star constellation in Sagittarius, which is the undefeated, the victorious, the undefeated and the victorious. And the thing about Purva Ashadha is it's a very devotional and intelligent sign. It's once we have uprooted our old beliefs, our old ideas, our old thoughts that have rooted down into us, we plant new seeds for what we believe now, what we want to believe, that has been strengthened by the energy of the Guru, which is also sitting in Ashadha. And Purva Ashadha is ruled by Apas, the water goddess Apas, which is the waters of love and devotion and the spiritual water. And so we plant those new seeds through our spiritual practices at this time. Whatever mantras you plant inside your system will take root. And whatever new beliefs you create will take root. During an eclipse and during this moment of auspicious time that we have, whatever we think will take root inside of us. And then we have this devotional aspect of the moon as it moves into Purva Ashadha, with the watering of those seeds. And with the watering of those seeds can take sprout, they can take root to create new roots and then they sprout into something new within us. So this is a perfect opportunity to, like I said, go deep into the spiritual practices and be the spiritual warrior and create a new foundation for yourself if you have lost your foundation, and create a new belief system for yourself that is once again rekindled by the energy of the Guru. And then water and nurture those new belief systems that you have. And Purva Ashada is very devoted to their beliefs, very, very devoted to their beliefs and their ideas and their ideals. And the sign of Sagittarius too is the victory over, you see the archer, and Purva Ashada is the breastplate of the archer. The archer has to first see what they want, then take the stance of the archer, then they get the bow and they pull back that bow, and they so perfectly look at where that arrow is going to aim, they become a toxopholite, which then when they release the bow, it perfectly hits the target. And in the case of the archer, the target is the deer. And so they hit the deer, and you see in Purva Ashada, the victory of the archer holding up the head of the deer. And so the deer that was running around frantically looking for like what to believe in, and then the deer's head is cut off, and victory is once again achieved over logic. Logic is the Rahu is cut off, and logic is once again brought back for this period of time into your system. So this is an opportunity to think logically, to regain some ground, to become victorious over the mind and the ego that has sort of run amok a little bit over this last month. And to gain that victory, to gain that spiritual victory. And the arrow always hits. There's a determination, there's a one-pointedness, there's a focus that you have the opportunity to achieve. So we have a couple of yogas that are here. We have third house away from the ascendant in the chart of the eclipse is Jupiter, which creates Vasmuti yoga, where we overcome obstacles. We overcome obstacles in our own self. We could see an overcoming of obstacles in the country, in the world around us. We also overcome our own inner obstacles. So it's, again, giving us that narrow moment of time where we can make some progress. We can overcome our own emotional and mental obstacles and egoic obstacles. And then we also have Gajakasari Yoga with Jupiter and the Moon coming together in Sagittarius, creating the elephant and the lion yoga, creating leadership, creating a spiritual authority within us. So the guru becomes the spiritual authority. Our own inner guru becomes the spiritual authority. And with Mars in Pisces, we then have the courage to be the spiritual warrior. So this is why I say that this is an auspicious time, and I wouldn't spend it. It's not really, everything's getting stirred up, and I don't think it is actually an auspicious time for things that are, it is auspicious, it's all auspicious, but it's not a great time for being outside in the world. I honestly wouldn't go out and party and make yourself sick or potentially make others sick. Or I can see a little bit, sometimes when we have Jupiter in Sagittarius in its own sign, with these devoted, ideas and belief systems, there can be a little bit of fanaticism that also can come out. There's the potential for fanaticism. And anytime you have an eclipse, things are getting stirred up, and we do still have storms. So I can see it potentially being, yes, there's the rise in cases that are happening, and possibly some upheavals, could also be happening. But we need to turn within. That is the most important thing, is not wasting this opportunity to gain spiritual ground inside. Because yes, while all this stuff is happening outside, this eclipse is giving us the perfect inner opportunity to go deep within and to gain spiritual ground inside, to really see, to gain some spiritual insight. And Mars in Scorpio, Mars in Pisces in Uttara Bhadrapada with the serpent of the deep also brings about, our mind being closely tapped into the other realms. So we have access to the other realms at this time. So it's a perfect opportunity to connect with the inner guru, to realign with the inner self. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to say. To regain some of our discrimination. And another symbol of Purva Ashado is the winnowing basket. The winnowing basket that separates when you have grain, when you have wheat, it separates the wheat from the chaff. And so it's another opportunity in this moment of losing our minds and our discrimination to gain our discrimination back, to separate the wheat from the chaff and gain some of that discrimination back. And so this is really the gift of this eclipse, in my opinion. And we can take the opportunity or not. We're always provided an opportunity. We can take it or not. So I would suggest taking it, and devote to your spiritual practices this weekend, and use this opportunity, and realize that there might be some howling. The Ardra is the howler, and it's okay to break down. It's okay to allow things to fall apart. Things are falling apart all around us. Things are getting worse and things are falling apart. And there might be some howling. There might be some crying out. There might be, storms this weekend in our country, within your own self. But use that as an opportunity to go within, because the opportunity is there to tap into the Guru within, to allow the Guru within to surrender to the Guru within, and allow the Guru within to give you guidance, to give you nurturing, to give you those loving, devoted waters, and allow the purification of the Appas, the loving, devoted waters, to wash through you, to cleanse you. Let the storm come. Let it cleanse you. Let those waters wash through you. Uproot what does not need to be there. Surrender into that uprooting and plant new seeds of what you want to show up, so that those waters can then, nourish those new seeds and new belief systems, new ideas that are reinforced by your higher inner self within can flourish and come forth. And that spiritual warrior can then work on achieving those things in your life. So that's really what I think this is all pointing us to. And I hope that you'll take the opportunity. I hope this has been helpful. And I'll post some different posts, on how we relate to ourselves and to others, and what this is also showing us in our relationship with ourselves and others. So have a great weekend, and namaste.